Hello everybody and welcome back to another CB Show Tunes tutorial. Now today's tutorial we're going to be learning how to create power-ups similar to this right here to spawn our character inside the scene and of course allow ourselves to be able to collect these power-ups and so on. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so to begin with, inside our last tutorial we had set up our player with a current coin count. And today what we're going to do is we need to actually create a game manager script. And of course I actually went ahead and did that because I had an earlier tutorial today that did not work out so great, but I basically made do with it. So once you create your game manager script, you're going to open it up, and what we're going to put here is very simple. We're going to put a public int called current coins, which we're going to default at 0. We're also going to create a public integer called lives, and we're going to default that at 3. Now, in a previous tutorial on our player controller, we had set up a inventory, but we don't want that inventory on the character. We actually want that on the game manager, so you can go and delete the player controller current coins because we don't need that. I had this set up right here just for debugging purposes. It's really useful to be able to see what you have on the screen. So as you can see, this is a void on GUI, which allows us to write on the screen. And we have a layout or label called coins, and we just show our coins on the screen. And we also have a layout called lives, and it shows our lives on the screen. So pretty useful. Now that's all we need on our game manager script, and you just need to drag that game manager script onto our game manager. Very simple to do. Now the next thing that we needed to cover was of course our destroy function for our I guess you could say destroy on trigger enter thing or object. And what we're doing here is we simply needed to create a spawn point for our player to spawn at if our game manager says we have enough lives. We also wanted to create a way to where our player won't just die immediately. So what we did there, if you open up our destroy on enter script, we created a private game manager called GM, and we created a public transform called spawn point. Now the spawn point is simply a empty game object that I placed inside the screen or scene, I mean, and I just put it wherever. And I made sure that I added it to the spawn point that we have right here. So under our private void start, we're going to put GM is equal to GameObject.find object of type, and that would be our game manager, and that'll be our script. And then of course on our void on trigger enter 2D, we basically just added this little equation here. It says if GM, so our game manager dot lives is less or greater than 0, and collision.tag is equal to player, then we're going to have this happen. So I can actually erase that. I just realized that. Boom, boom, perfect. So whenever this is equal to true, we're going to say collision.transform.position. So we're grabbing the game object that is hit, and we're going to put it at spawn point.position. So super simple. Then of course gm.lives, we're going to minus or increment down by 1. Otherwise, so here's our else statement, we're going to destroy collision.gameObject. So very useful and simple to follow along with. So let's put that there. Boom. Okay, so now since we have that written down, I'll go ahead and leave it on the screen just for a couple seconds so you guys can write that down. Okay, so the last thing that we need to cover for this individual setup is our player controller. Now I know this is a little rushed and all, but it's very simple if you just follow along. So at the top of our screen you see a header called get component game manager, and just as we did before on the destroy on enter function, we're going to put the same thing. So private game manager GM. Next we're going to create a header called power up, and underneath this we're going to put public bool is invincible, public float invincible set timer, and of course private float invincible current timer. Now how this is set up is if we're invincible or if this bool is set to true, then we're going to be able to destroy any game object that is set as an obstacle. The invincible set timer means that this is how long we are going to be invincible. And then of course our current timer means that this is the amount of time that's going to be decreased before it resets and set is invincible is equal to false. So that's all that is. So if we roll down now, underneath the void start function, we're going to call our GM function just like we did inside of our destroy on enter. We're just going to find object of type, and we're going to get game manager. Inside of our void update function, we're going to call a new function called invincible, and we'll get into that once we've rolled down a little bit further. But first, we're going to head over to our void on collision enter 2D. So right here we have if is invincible, so we're checking to see if our character is invincible. And collision.gameObject.tag is equal to obstacle. So any obstacle that we hit, then we're going to put destroy the object that we hit. So a very simple script. Now if we roll down into our on trigger enter 2D, we're going to write down this very, very simple code. So if, now this is just like if we run into the coin, which we set up a couple tutorials ago. We're going to say if collision.tag is equal to the name of our invincible target. So I put invincible power up, right? So if this is true, then we're going to say invincible cur time is equal to invincible set time. So we're going to be setting our timer. Then we're going to say is invincible is equal to true. So we set ourselves up to where, you know, we are invincible. And then we're going to call our function. So it's going to be called once. In fact, actually, we don't need that. I just realized we're calling it inside the void update function. So yeah. Then we're going to destroy this object that we hit, mainly because we don't want the object to continue on inside the scene. Okay, so if we open up our void invincible function, which we described earlier, we're going to put if we're invincible. Then we're going to set invincible cur timer minus equals time.delta time. So it's going to continuously decrease per frame. Next, we're going to put if invincible cur time is less than or equal to 0, then we're going to set is invincible is equal to false. So pretty cool. Now one thing that we did not add here is a way to gain lives. So we're going to say if we're going to put collision.tag is equal to a gain health PU, then we're going to do pretty much the same thing that we did here, except we're just going to put destroy game object first off, and we're also going to put above that gm.lives, and we're going to put plus plus, so it's going to increase by an increment of 1. So very simple. Now we're going to head back over into our game. Let's go over to our prefabs, and let's go ahead and grab that. Grab our power up, drop it into the scene, and we need to duplicate this because one power up is going to be for one and the other is going to be for the other. So we're going to call this health power up, and let's go ahead and erase that 1. Open up the little drop down, grab our coin, and we're going to set this to like a reddish, maybe not a reddish color. Let's just drop it down to a darker color. That'll be our health power up, and we can drag that down here. And let's go and delete that. Grab this right here. This will be called our invincible power up. And of course, it's already set up with a tag of invincible PU. If you don't got that, go to add tag, and then just put in the new tag. So gain health PU, because I don't got that. And of course, re-grab the game object and then set it to what you need it to be. Now I need to change this to the gain health PU. Okay, so we're going to delete that now and rename this down here. So invincible power up. And make sure that you grab your coin, or not coin, your box that you have set up and tag it as obstacle. If you don't got that, just add tag obstacle and then reselect your object, change it to obstacle. And on our building, if it's set up with another game object, say for instance the collider's not on the original object, you will need to grab the object that it is, that the box collider is on, and then you're going to need to add the tag to that, otherwise it won't work. Okay, lastly we're going to grab our game manager, and we need to, I'm going to go set our live spec to 3. We need to go over to our coins and power up spawner. You're going to need to increase the size by quite a bit because this is going to be you do want to make it random, right? So we're going to increase that by a large amount, and then of course we're going to just simply drag in our power-ups, so just like so. Now keep in mind you don't want the power-ups to outnumber the coins, so you could just set this as a possibilities, but lower possibilities by adding more coins inside there. And then of course you're going to need to increase the random chance, so 20, 20, 20. Just make sure that it equals the spawnable items. Okay, so we're going to press play, and here we go. We're going to gain our invincibility, gain our lives, so pretty cool. And as you can see, everything is working as it should. If we go off the screen now, let me actually try to not get the okay, there we go. Come on, there we go. So as you can see, we are respawning, which is super awesome. We have our lives and we have our coins. Okay, so in our next tutorial, we will be setting up a way for this to become infinite, or our level to become infinite. We're also going to be setting up our menu scene to be able to play the game. And so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I know it was a little bit confusing because it was rushed and all, but we got the job done. If you have any questions regarding this tutorial, make sure that you leave a comment inside the comment section below. I'll be happy to get to you as soon as I can. And of course, if you have any ideas on this game, what you want to add to it, then of course make sure that you check that out as well inside the comment section below. Please like, subscribe, check out some other videos, and I'll see you guys next time.